Hello and welcome to Crouton Cracker Jacks. Today I'm going to show you how to make these tie-dye t-shirt sugar cookies. These look much harder than they really are, but they're actually super simple to make. These are the ingredients that you'll need. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is make up a batch of rolled sugar cookies in my stand mixer here. You can use any recipe you want to, or even store-bought dough, but I use my own recipe here. I have a separate video that shows exactly how I make this, and I'll put a link down below in the description box so you can watch that video. But once the dough came together, I'm going to put the dough into a plastic baggie and remove all the air out of that, and then seal it up and put it into the fridge for about 30 minutes just to let the dough rest a bit. After 30 minutes, I'm going to lightly flour my countertop here and place my dough on there, and I'm going to lightly flour the top of my dough as well as a rolling pin. I'm going to roll my dough out to about 3/16 of an inch, or between 4 and 5 millimeters for you metric folks. And while you're rolling this out, you want to turn your dough a quarter turn every few rolls just to make sure that your dough doesn't stick to your countertop. But once that was rolled out, you want to cut out your cookies. Now I'm using this onesie cookie cutter because I couldn't find a t-shirt cookie cutter that was the right size. I could only find small ones that were about 1 inch in size or great big ones that were about 6 inches. And I wanted around 4-inch cookies, so this onesie cutter had to do. But I'm just going to cut out my cookies, and then using a knife, I'm going to cut off the very bottom part of the onesie so that way it looks like a t-shirt. And no one's going to know any different, so just go ahead and use a cookie cutter that will work. And once you get those cut out, place them onto a cookie sheet lined with either a silicone baking mat or parchment paper, and bake according to the recipe's instructions that you are using. And then once you're done, let them cool just a minute on the cookie sheet, and then remove them to a wire rack to cool completely. Next, I made up a batch of royal icing. Again, I have a separate video that shows how I make this, and again, I'll put a link down below in the description box that will take you to that video. But once I got that made, I divided it into 6 little cups. Now I used Americolor gel food coloring to color my icing, but you can use whatever food coloring that you like. Anyway, you want your icing to be a 5-second consistency, which you'll see what I mean when you watch my icing video. And I'm just going to mix these colors up, and I've got red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple, all the colors of the rainbow. You can do more or less colors, but a full rainbow really looks best with these cookies. And once I got all my icing colored, I'm going to use these plastic sandwich bags as icing bags because they're easy to clean up, and these I can just throw away when I'm done with them. A little trick for you, I put my fingers in one of the corners and then put the baggie into a 1-cup glass measuring cup, and then folded the top over the sides of the measuring cup, and that'll hold it nice and secure while you add your icing, so that way you don't get icing everywhere. And the icing is all right at the tip, which is exactly where you want it instead of all over the inside of the bag. Just makes it a little bit easier when you're icing your cookies. And then seal up the baggie and you're good to go. Now to decorate your cookies, just take one of the cookies and pick any color of icing that you want to start with. And I've already snipped off just the very tip of the baggie so I can do a nice thin line. And we're going to start by outlining just one of the sleeves. And I'm going to fill in the bottom corner just a bit so it'll be easier later on when we add more colors. And then I'm going to do the bottom of the cookie and just make a line starting about halfway down and around the bottom, and then back up the other side. Again, fill in the corners to make it a little easier later on, and then go on to the next sleeve. And we're going to do the same as the first one. And don't worry about the outline here. We will complete the outline with the next color. And once you get that done, take your next color, and you want to do a complete outline now, but you want to stay inside of that first color that you did. Now you want to make sure that you get these different colors right next to each other so that way they flow into each other and there's no gaps between the icing. If you have the proper consistency, it should do that automatically, but sometimes you'll have to help it along just a bit. No big deal, just make sure that it's nice and smooth, and go all the way around the cookie until you're back to where you started, and then close that line up. And I'm going to keep doing this, going around the inside of the cookie, alternating colors of the rainbow until I get to the middle of the cookie. Now you do want to work kind of quick because you don't want the first few colors of icing to crust over, because then it'll be hard to get a nice clean line when we marble these to get that tie-dye effect. But just keep going around and around with the different colors until you get to the center. And when you're nearly done, there should be just a tiny spot in the middle that you'll need to fill in. And next you want to take a toothpick and, starting in the center, drag from the middle out to the edge, and then wipe off the tip of the toothpick. And then your next line you want to drag from the edge to the middle, and then repeat that all the way around. Now you can see here on the bottom of the cookie the icing was starting to crust up just a little bit around the edges, which is fine, but this is why you want to work kind of quickly. Just keep going all the way around your cookie And once you get back to where you started on the last line, you want to do a small little swirl right in the middle, and that will help give your cookies that true tie-dyed look. And then set this cookie off to the side and finish up with the rest of your cookies. And there you go. That is how I made tie-dyed t-shirt sugar cookies. A little time consuming, but not too bad. And I even played around a little bit and made this peace sign tie-dye shirt using the same technique. I did not record that, but if you want, write a comment down below and maybe I'll do another video showing how I make those. But yeah, if you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. It really helps me out a lot. Subscribe for more deliciousness and to keep up to date on all my latest videos. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.